Welcome to Vestal High School and the 2021-2022 school year. During this presentation, we'll give you updates, talk about the student handbook, and review the code of conduct.
Welcome to a new school year at Vestal High School. I am Mrs. Young, your principal. As we start the new school year, I would like to remind you that you are attending one of the very best high schools in all of New York State. At Vestal High School, you have vast opportunities for academic excellence, leadership, and service. I encourage you to take advantage of all we have to offer. Vestal High School is an IB school, which means we foster certain traits in our students and ourselves. Think about how you embody the characteristics of the IB learner profile and identify areas for growth. We strive for all students to become inquirers, knowledgeable, thinkers, communicators, principled, open-minded, caring, risk-takers, balanced, and reflective through our high standards for school spirit, student leadership, and civic engagement. Each of you should apply yourself to the highest level of studies in which you can be successful. This means embracing content or courses that challenge your thinking. This is how we all grow. Your teachers, counselors, staff, and administrators are committed to helping you persevere through challenging situations, assignments, and concepts. I ask each of you to set goals for this school year that will help you reach graduation prepared to be a contributing member of your next school or work community and a contributing member to our global world. In addition, as a building community, we prioritize mental health, wellness, and safety for all our students and staff. I further ask that you be kind to one another and look out for the safety and well-being of all. This video will highlight important student expectations found in the student handbook. Please come to school each day with a strong focus on learning. However, if you choose to behave in a manner that does not comply with the handbook, there will be school consequences. I encourage you to embrace all that our school has to offer and put forth the greatest effort possible for a successful and enjoyable year. Thank you for listening. Remember, hard work and persistence are the ingredients for success. I wish you the very best of successes this year.
Welcome to a new school year. We hope in this presentation you'll learn how to get involved, understand expectations from the student handbook and code of conduct, and supportive tips to help you stay out of trouble. In your student planner, you will also find the name and phone numbers of the principal, the assistant principals, and the dean of students. For the 2021-22 school year, each student must submit the health screening form once. However, be mindful of the COVID symptoms. If you're experiencing any symptoms, do not attend school that day. Vestal High School will continue to use the Cafe, Commons, 181, and the auditorium as holding areas every morning beginning at 7 a.m. Students will complete a form with the name, seat number, date, and time for contact tracing purposes. Please wear your mask. The rule of thumb this year is when you're inside, you're wearing a mask, regardless of your vaccination status. The mask is to fully cover your nose and your mouth. It is not a chin strap or a neck strap. When outside, you will not be required to wear a mask. This year, the magic social distancing number is 3 feet. Please be mindful of those around you when in the hallways and in the restrooms and practice social distancing. Follow the directional arrows on the floor and keep traffic one directional in the hallways. You will each be receiving a student planner. Unfortunately, shipment of the student planners has been delayed, and you will not be receiving the planner until later this month. The presentation that will follows the pages within this planner. You will be able to reference them later. This year's bell schedule has been updated. 1 minute has been added to each period. Students, you're now allowed to use your lockers, but be mindful, the transition time between periods is really small. You still are allowed to carry your backpack to transport things you need between classes. And please remember, when transitioning through the halls, try to avoid those crowded areas and keep 3 feet between you. Remember, the atrium is still the single point of entry into Vestal High School. If you need breakfast, you can pick it up in the Commons and eat in 181. Remember, you can remove your mask when you're eating, but put it on as soon as you're finished. Students will wait in designated holding areas before first period. This includes the cafeteria, Commons, 181, or the auditorium. First period begins at 8 a.m. each day. If you arrive after 8 a.m., you'll be considered tardy. Attendance matters. Showing up can have a big impact on whether or not you are successful in your classes. So please be on time for class every day. In the handbook, you will see a New York State approved list of absences. Please remember, a parent or guardian should call the attendance office and send in a written note to report your absence. Class attendance regulation and progressive discipline. Remember, active participation or lack of participation can impact your achievement. Truancy may be subject to academic consequences, including loss of credits for assignments. Truancy includes, but not limited to, unexcused absences, leaving school grounds without permission from school officials, getting a pass and not arriving to their location, reporting to school and not attending class. Your parents will be contacted and progressive discipline will be enforced. As we've discussed earlier, please be on time for all assigned classes. And when you come late, remember to sign in at the attendance. Progressive consequences for tardiness are determined by a classroom teacher or an administrator. Making up work. It is the student's responsibility to make up assignments and tests. If having clear communication between the teacher and student will ensure you don't fall behind on your learning. Generally, 1 day is given per absent to be able to make up work or tests. Depending on the nature or situation and specific circumstances, an alternative deadline may be established between the teacher and the student. Students who need to be excused from school during the normal school hours must present a written request from a parent or legal guardian. This request should be submitted to the attendance clerk on the day to be excused and must include the reason and the time. Students are reminded that your appointments will result in the student being marked as absent from your class. Parents and students are encouraged to schedule appointments after school hours. Parents wishing to pick up students during the school day must show a valid form of picture ID and be on the student's contact list. You will notice in classrooms, commons, the cafeteria, that desks have been set up to indicate social distancing. Please do not move them. Please sit in your assigned seats and follow directions from your teachers. And remember, when inside, wear that mask. Speaking of face masks, remember, this year we're wearing them at all times regardless of our vaccination status, except for when eating. When eating, just remove your mask. Please remain in your seat and eat during your designated breakfast and lunch period. And then when you're finished, put that mask back on and you may continue chatting and socializing with your friends. Failure to comply with face mask and social distancing protocols, as well as ignoring redirection from staff members, is considered insubordination, and it is subject to discipline under the Vestal High School Code of Conduct. Students who need medical attention will be sent to the nurse's office with a pass from the classroom teacher. The student must sign in and out with the nurse. Students are reminded the nurse's office is not a place to socialize or sleep. No student can be administered a prescription or over-the-counter medication without a written order from their healthcare provider and written permission from a parent or guardian. An adult must bring the medication to the nurse's office in the original container. Here at Vestal High School, we encourage student leadership. Students should exhibit positive character traits such as intellectual honesty, respect, tolerance, kindness, and leadership. Students who take a leadership role in our school and community through their volunteerism, their positive attitudes, respectful interactions, and active participation in class, clubs, athletics, and the arts promote a high-achieving environment. Email is a valuable tool that will help connect you to your teachers. The links are provided on the district website. Students must check their email daily. If you need help, please contact Ms. Sweeney in the library or the BOCES Help Desk at 766-3800 for further assistance. The Counseling and Guidance Office is a very busy place, but they're available to assist students. You must be aware, though, when you come in, you must arrange an appointment to see your school counselor on your unstructured time. You can see the secretary to set up the time when you are not in class and see your counselor without interrupting any of your classes. You will be required to sign in when you report to the office and sign out when you leave. Please be sure to look at the information that's available about colleges, careers, scholarships, and awards, and check that board in the hall for important dates and other information. The counselors are here for you, and Google Classroom is a great tool to utilize when wanting to communicate and share information. If you have not done so already, please accept the invitation to join the Counseling and Guidance Office Google Classroom. Remember to join your particular class. School safety is everyone's responsibility. Exterior doors may not be propped open, and the entrance into the building is through the atrium only. Students should never open a locked door for anyone to enter the building. Students should notify the SRO or administrator with any concerns related to school safety and security. If a student provides unauthorized access to anyone, the student may be subject to disciplinary consequences. Therefore, students who prop open an exterior door or let anyone enter the building through any door, including the atrium, will be subject to disciplinary consequences. This year, Vestal High School will have an open campus. It is a privilege, which allows you to leave campus to go get lunch if you choose. You don't have to leave. You could simply go outside, sit in the sun, sit in the bleachers, hang out with friends. Lunch is available for free in the cafeteria if you choose to eat at the high school. Please eat in the designated areas and follow mask guidelines. When not eating, remove your mask. As soon as you're finished eating, please remove your masks and then continue socializing and hanging out. The Commons is reserved for students in grades 11 and 12. Grades 9 and 10 may eat in the cafeteria. This year, students will be allowed to use lockers. However, you will not be changing for physical education classes until further notice. So pay attention to those cycle days, and when it's your day for PE, be sure to dress comfortably and have the appropriate clothing. Electronic devices and cell phones. Please note, the school is not responsible for any lost or stolen electronic devices. We understand that these are a great resource and can be used in an academic setting. We do ask you pay attention to the power off, attention on, and respectful use allowed signage around the building, and only use your devices when permitted. Electronic devices and cell phones should not be used in restrooms or locker rooms. Please remember, your digital reputation is important. Connect with respect. Driving and parking. Students must complete the online driving orientation that can be located on the Vestal website. Once you've completed the online driving orientation and registered your vehicle, you will come into the assistant principal's office and you will be issued a hang tag. Seniors may park out front in the green line spaces. No students may park in the staff spaces in the front lot. Late arrival and early dismissal are privileges our 11th and 12th graders can utilize. You must submit an application through the website. You do need parent permission, and it is subject to approval through the AP and Counseling and Guidance Office. This privilege may be revoked or not granted for failing grades, being late to class, or chronic truancy. The Code of Conduct in plain language. On the next few pages, you will read about student dress code, student conduct, and penalties. Here at Vestal High School, we embrace individuality and encourage it. Therefore, our dress must be appropriate. safe and not disrupt or interfere with the educational process. Please take a look at this list and adhere to our guidelines. We must dress appropriately, not wearing see-through clothing, we must wear footwear, underwear must be covered completely, please no hoods in the building, and our clothing should not have obscene wording or contain illegal or violent content. You may be asked to change or cover offending items, and violations may result in additional discipline.
Prohibited student conduct. Prohibited student conduct is organized into 7 different categories. We will discuss each individually throughout the PowerPoint. Penalties are progressive. You will see a list here.
As a general rule, discipline will be progressive, which means the first violation will merit a lighter penalty than repeated offenses. Administration will consider a variety of factors when determining penalties. A list of penalties is on the next slide.
Here is a list of some possible progressive penalties. They can be verbal or written warnings, suspensions, removal from classrooms, or even from extracurricular activities. Minimum periods of suspension. If a student brings a weapon to school, they will be subject to suspension for 1 full calendar year, unless otherwise determined by the superintendent. Students who commit violent acts, they too are subject to a suspension of 5 days and a superintendent hearing, unless otherwise determined by the superintendent. Students who are repeatedly and substantially disrupting the educational process or interfering with a teacher's authority will be subject to suspension of at least 5 days. It is extremely important you read and understand the Code of Conduct. You will be held accountable for understanding and knowing the information that is outlined for you.
In Section 2, we describe definitions to help you understand what a disruptive student, bullying and cyberbullying, discrimination and harassment, what a violent student is, and the definition of weapon. Remember, this list is not exhaustive. Prohibited student conduct focuses on safety and respect for the rights and properties of others. Students who do not accept responsibility for their own behavior or who violate these school rules will be required to accept the penalties for their conduct. Students may be subject to disciplinary action up to and including suspension from school when they engage in conduct that is disorderly, insubordinate, disruptive, violent, endangers the education, safety, morals, health, or welfare of others, engage in misconduct while on the bus, or any form of academic misconduct. We will discuss each of these further as the PowerPoint continues. A. Disorderly. Examples of disorderly conduct include, but are not limited to, running in hallways, making unreasonable noise, using language or gestures that are profane, lewd, vulgar, or abusive, obstructing vehicular or pedestrian traffic, engaging in any willful act which disrupts the normal operation of the school community. This may include bullying, cyberbullying, discrimination, and/or harassment. Trespassing. Students are not permitted in any school building other than the one they regularly attend without permission from an administrator in charge of the building. Computer and electronic communications, including any unauthorized use of computers, software, or internet accounts, accessing inappropriate websites, or any other violation of the district's acceptable use policy. This may include, but is not limited to, personal handheld devices such as games, handheld computers, and organizers. B. Insubordinate. Examples of insubordinate conduct include, but are not limited to, failing to comply with the directions of a teacher, school administrator, school employee, or other authorized school agent in charge of students, or otherwise demonstrating disrespect. Lateness. Missing or leaving school without permission, and skipping detention. C. Disruptive. Examples of disruptive conduct include, but are not limited to, failing to comply with directions of a teacher, school administrator, school employee, or other authorized school agent in charge of students. D. Violent. Examples of violent conduct include, but are not limited to, committing an act of violence as defined in Section 2 upon a teacher, administrator, school employee, or other authorized agent or attempting to do so. Committing an act of violence as defined in Section 2 upon another student or any person lawfully on school property or attempting to do so. Possessing a weapon as defined in Section 2. Authorized law enforcement officials are the only persons permitted to have a weapon in their possession while on school property or at school functions. Displaying what appears to be a weapon, as noted in the definition of weapon in Section 2. Threatening to use any weapon, as noted in the definition of weapon in Section 2. Damaging or destroying the personal property of a student, teacher, administrator, other district employee, or other authorized school agent on school property, including graffiti or arson. And lastly, damaging or destroying school district property. E. Endangers. The education, the safety, morals, health, or welfare of others. This may include bullying, cyberbullying, discrimination, and/or harassment as defined in this code. Examples of such conduct include, but are not limited to, lying to school personnel, stealing, defamation, discrimination, harassment, intimidation, hazing, bullying and cyberbullying, selling, using, or possessing obscene material, vulgar or abusive language.
We're continuing to discuss endangers, endangering education, safety, morals, health, or welfare of others. This could include the possession or use of cigarettes, cigars, pipes, chewing tobacco, smokeless tobacco, electronic cigarettes, or other similar devices. The use, possession, sale, or gift of any drug or controlled substance, including marijuana or any instrument for the use of such, or being under the influence while on school premise or while attending a school or school-sponsored function are all considered ways of endangering the education, safety, morals, health, and welfare of others.
The use, possession, sale, or gift, or being under the influence of an alcoholic beverage while on school premises, including buildings or grounds, or while in attendance at a school function or a school-sponsored function. Inappropriately using or sharing prescription or over-the-counter drugs. Possession, use, sharing, or being under the influence of synthetic cannabinoids, synthetic marijuana. Gambling. Indecent exposure, exposing one's private body parts in a lewd or indecent manner. Initiating a report warning of fire or other catastrophic or if a student is suspected of possession, use, or consuming drugs or alcohol, the school will conduct tests, including, but not limited to, a breathalyzer test. Refusal to take a breathalyzer is insubordination and is a suspendable offense. Bullying and cyberbullying. Bullying means unwanted, aggressive behavior which harms or induces fear with the threat of further aggression. The behavior is repeated or has the potential to be repeated over time. Students may not intimidate, invoke fear, or otherwise harass staff or other students. Such behavior will not be tolerated, and it is a violation of the Code of Conduct. Bullying may include internet threats, online gambling, cyberbullying, text message threats, instant messaging, email, name calling, unwanted physical conduct, verbal or written insults, or otherwise demeaning behavior. Students should report all incidents of bullying or cyberbullying to a staff member or SRO. Off-campus incidents of bullying and cyberbullying that disrupt the school community can be addressed through the Code of Conduct. The Vestal High School principal is your building DASA coordinator, and the administrative team is here to support you if you believe you are the target of bullying or cyberbullying. We take your concerns very seriously. We cannot help solve problems we do not know about. Please review the definition of harassment on page 15. Student searches may be conducted if there are reasonable grounds or suspicion that the search will turn up evidence the student violated the law or rules of the school. We're guided by the rule of reasonable suspicion. The search will be conducted by an administrator and there will be a witness. F. Misconduct on the school bus. It is crucial for students to behave appropriately while riding on district buses to ensure their safety and that of other passengers and to avoid distracting the bus driver. Students are required to conduct themselves on the bus in a manner consistent with established standards for classroom behavior. Excessive noise, pushing, shoving, and fighting will not be tolerated. Remember, riding the school bus is a privilege. Students must adhere to all directives from bus drivers and school staff. Please sit in your assigned seat and please keep your face mask on at all times. G. Academic misconduct. Examples of academic misconduct include, but are not limited to, plagiarism, cheating, copying, altering records, and assisting another student in any of the above items. Take the next few moments to read information about reporting violations, disciplinary penalties, procedures and referrals, information about due process, suspensions, short and long, criteria to consider, and outside agencies. The final section has to do with students' rights, internet safety, and instructional technology, which are all board-approved policies.
Technology has become a big part of the educational setting. Please review the policies on instructional technology. We must connect with respect. Remember to power off, attention on, and respectful use allowed. Much more of our time will be spent accessing instruction through digital means. Your digital reputation is important. Please be responsible, be respectful, and be golden.
Diversity and culture. It is the intent of the Vestal Central School District to foster respect, understanding, and acceptance among children and staff who represent different religions, races, and nationalities. We are confident that together we can reach high levels of success. Please use this student planner as just one of the many tools to help you plan your success. We are so excited to have you back. We hope you have an amazing school year.